What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sci the Doctor, and we about to do a lyric breakdown video real quick. So the bars go like this. Yeah, life ain't what it seems. 2016, moved to the city of cream with the dollar in a dream, ultra light beam. I knew my life had to be on the bigger, better things. Wanted to be the professor that I never had. First and last black professor that they'll ever have. That's the type of shit that used to make a nigga mad. Hope there's more to your life than chasing a fucking bag. Yeah, so basically what I'm explaining in this like pre-chorus, if you will, or the intro, is that we have a certain idea on how we think life is going to be, but life is never what it seems, right? So we have this preconceived notion of what we think our life is going to look like, but then life has a very different plan for us. And then 2016 moved to the city of Cream. So this is the year where I had just finished my PhD. I graduated, had got the job at Marquette University, and then I made that move from Boston to Milwaukee. And Milwaukee is known as Cream City. So 2016 moved to the city of Cream. So that's where that came from. With a dollar in a dream, ultra light beam. I was broke, dog. So think about it. When you in grad school, or think about how long I had been in school. I went from straight from undergrad to grad school. So from 18, I finished my PhD at 28, and now I'm moving across the country. I was broke as fuck, right? Because I was making no money as a grad student. We on a little stipend. As an undergrad, I really had no money, and so I've been broke college student for like 10 years. So all I really had was a dollar and a dream to now go to this new city. Um, but at that time, I'm on that ultra light beam, knowing I'm gonna be going somewhere different. That my life is now going to progress, as the next bar says. I knew my life had to be on the bigger, better things. Wanted to be the professor that I never had. That had always been my dream. Um, well, I can't say always, but when I knew that I wanted to pursue a PhD and I wanted to go in the academy, I wanted to be a professor that I never had. Like I wanted to be the professor that if I was a student, that was my favorite professor. And that's the way I move, right? And the way in which I teach, the way I try to organize my assignments, uh, how I lecture, is to be that professor I never had. Uh, First and last black professor that they'll ever have, that's clear as day, right? That's plain. Um, there's not many black professors in the academy. And for many of my students, I'm their first black teacher ever and will likely be the last black teacher that they have. So the first and last black professor that they'll ever have. And there's tons of reasons why that is, right? Social economic, um, the pipeline from fucking preschool to the academy to college to grad school, all that, right? And so when I reflect on that, that shit used to make me very upset that I'm not happy to be the only one, but like, what are the underlying conditions that lead me to be in this position? Um, so I used to make me really mad at that fact, and then still upsetting, but not in the same way. Um, I would say, and then the last bar is hope there's more to your life than chasing a fucking bag. Everybody's after the material. Everybody's motivation often is money, right? We hear it constantly in the music. The bag this, bag that, trying to obtain the bag. But is there shit more important than obtaining a fucking bag? And that's where I stand, right? Like we have to put principle over a dollar, not a dollar over our principles. And I hope that the life that you're living is more than just chasing money, chasing the bag. All right, so the next bars I'm gonna drop is this. Never was I in the class trying to change minds. I be in the classroom trying to change lives. Huey Newton, revolutionary suicide. The spook that sat by the ivory tower up in the skies. Year 35, still eyes on the prize. Star Trek and Next Generation, no enterprise. A black mind they could never ever gentrify. Haters try to bury me, but like Maya, still I rise up. So let's break these bars down. So often there's this idea that there's this liberal left wing agenda that professors have of trying to change the minds of their students. Bruh, I can't even get students to read, let alone try to put them on some revolutionary social justice path to be little leftist, I don't know, whatever they think, right? Um, but right, so there's that idea. So I'm saying, never was I in the classroom trying to change anybody's mind. I be in that classroom trying to change lives. And so the way in which I bring myself into a classroom and the curriculum that I'm putting forth is trying to be transformational. I'm trying to transform people's lives, right? To change them. So not change their mind, but like change your life. So it's bigger than that. The next bar is Huey Newton, Revolutionary Suicide. So I'm paying homage to someone who was very influential in my life and still is to this day. And that's a book that he wrote, right? So Huey Newton is a co-founder of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. He wrote this book, Revolutionary Suicide, I think at the age of 31. Um, and basically, what the book is articulating is his life. It's an autobiography, and also basically sets out his agenda, like his revolutionary agenda and ideology. But basically, this idea of revolutionary suicide is that the revolutionary knows that he's risking his or her or their life, um, so risking death every time that they're challenging the status quo, challenging the apparatus that's at play. And so you're risking death, but you would rather do that than submit to the current system, right? And just be complacent. And so that's why I'm paying homage to that in these bars. The Spook That Sat by the Ivory Tower, I'm in disguise. So this is a book that I'm paying homage to, known as The Spook That Sat by the Door. And so I'm playing off that idea that I'm the spook that sat by the ivory tower, where the book basically is about a black man from the hood. I think it takes place in Chicago. It's a book and a movie, and this person joins the CIA basically to learn their whole system. Takes what he's learned from the CIA, brings it back to the hood, and organizes the lumpen proletariat, if you will, to basically form a revolutionary group to overthrow the government. And so he learned and played nicely within that system to take what he learned to bring it back to try to use those tactics to then bring about liberation. And so what I'm playing on is that here I am, the spook in the ivory tower. I learned this shit. I learned the system, but what I'm trying to do is take what I've learned to kind of overthrow academia, if you will, right? The ivory tower that has been a place and continues to be a place that reinforces and maintains racism and other forms of oppression. So I'm the spook that sat by the ivory tower. I'm in disguise because people don't know yet. Year 35, still Eyes on the Prize. So this is actually speaking on a documentary known as Eyes on the Prize that highlights a lot of African American history. They used to play it all the time on PBS. And so year 35 is that it's the 35th anniversary this year of that documentary. And our eyes are still on the prize. We have not yet achieved black liberation yet. So that's where it is. A black mind they can never ever gentrify. My mind can't be gentrified, right? Like some people experience some social mobility and then they switch up, they change up, and they become very Eurocentric in their way of thinking, right? Because their mind has been replaced, or ideas that they have now been replaced with like Eurocentricity. But not me, dog. Nah, I'm saying it will never be mentally gentrified. Haters try to bury me, but like Maya, still I rise. So this is paying homage to Maya Angelou, who wrote a poem called Still I Rise, right? And so these haters around me, they're trying to bury me. But no matter what, still I rise. Ain't a hood nigga, but I'm hood nigga adjacent. Mainly more than education for what we facing. Tell my people never be complacent. I keep my 10 toes down cemented and reinvented what it meant to be a professor and stayed authentic. Even though along the way many got offended, they thought I was too nigga to be an academic. NWA with a PhD. All right, so what I'm saying in these bars is that I'm not a hood nigga by conventional standards on what a hood nigga is, but I'm still hood nigga adjacent. So there's some hood nigga in me, right? Like I ain't fully 100% a hood nigga, but he got some hood nigga proclivities, right? So that's what that's saying. That I'm hood nigga adjacent, and again, at being a Pan African, I feel like the way in which we move and operate, we gotta build with everybody across class, fucking political, ethnic, all these lines, right? Division. So it's like, yeah, man, we can build with anybody. So that's what that is about. May need more than education for what we face. And so many times there's this narrative that like education is enough to sort of bring about people's liberation. And I'm saying that's not necessarily true. That education is a piece, but we probably gonna need more than that, like some guns and shit. But we won't get into that yet. Uh, Tell my people never be complacent. Simple as that. Don't be complacent with this bullshit that we in. I keep my 10 toes down, cemented. That means I'm firm in what I stand in and what I believe in, and I reinvent it. What it meant to be a professor. So we have this very cookie cutter image on what we think a professor should be like, how they should act, so on and so forth. And I'm reinventing that shit, right? So your preconceived notion and schema that you had for a professor, I'm disrupting that shit all the way up. Um, where we at? Oh, and I stayed authentic, even though along the way many got offended. They thought I was too nigga to be an academic. NWA with a PhD. So right, so I stayed my full black authentic self, and this offends people because you know when you're fully authentically yourself, sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. But I had to be me. Um, some people thought I was too nigga to be academic, right? So there's a certain way in which they want people, black people specifically, to move and operate in these spaces, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be too nigga in these academic spaces, and they thought like, oh, he should turn that down. And what I do, I turned that shit up. Uh, NWA with a PhD, that speaks for itself. Nigga with attitude with a PhD, that's me. Cause in the year 2022, relocated to Miami. Now I'm throwing up the U. Looking at my life, still can't believe it's true. Wishing my grandma was here so she could see it too. Social mobility might be bringing me different views, but my memories of where I came from, I'll never lose. So in these bars, it's very simple. So in the year 2022, in January, I picked up my bags from Milwaukee, made the trek down to Miami because of a job opportunity. I got hired at the University of Miami, which is the U. So I'm throwing up the U. I'm looking at my life, can't believing that this shit is playing out the way it is. I would have never thought that I had reached or would reach this space that I'm in. So it's like, oh shit. So when I sit and reflect, I'm still kind of oh like damn. Here's this little poor black boy, rocking bugle boy, who's now at a top tier research institution. How, right? But here I am. Um, Wishing my grandma was here to see it too, because my grandma was my biggest supporter. For those that know, my grandma raised me since I was a baby, like straight from the hospital day one, like literally day one. And I wish that she was here to see this because she would be so proud and happy to see our progress. I always framed it as like this is us doing this because we're never doing this alone. Social mobility, right? So I'm on this path of social mobility, and it's bringing me different views. So I'm seeing different shit now that I'm moving up, at least social economically. But the memories of where I came from, I'll never lose. So I always say this that we gotta commit class suicide, right? This is ideology. Um, what's the brother's name? I think it's Alamar. I'm butchering his name. Alamar Kabar. Damn, somebody fact check that. But his idea of class suicide, so that no matter where you move, so if you are, uh, you know, bourgeoisie or petty bourgeoisie, these are some Marxist terms. You can look them up. But if you are moving up in the social mobility, especially the petty bourgeois, that you shouldn't align your interests with the bourgeoisie, right? The people who are the higher social economic status and sectors of life, that you should be aligning yourself with the proletariat, right? And so this is like the working class poor of society, and together these individuals can overthrow this capitalistic system that puts profit over people. Um, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I'll never forget where I came from because I'm ideologically always tied to and materially tied to the proletariat.